What if I told you that the toothbrush you used this morning has ancestors dating back thousands of years, and some of them were just as sophisticated as the one sitting in your bathroom cup right now? It's easy to assume that ancient civilizations were primitive when it came to personal care, but the truth is, they were far ahead of their time. Picture this: delicate bronze ear cleaners from ancient Rome, ornate ivory combs from Egypt, even early versions of toothpaste made from crushed oyster shells and mint. These weren't just crude tools, they were carefully crafted inventions designed with the same purpose we have today: to keep ourselves clean, healthy, and feeling our best. The more we uncover about ancient hygiene, the more it feels like stepping into a mirror world where the past and present blur together. Imagine walking through a bustling marketplace in ancient Mesopotamia and spotting a vendor selling tweezers so finely made they could pass for modern stainless steel. Or stumbling upon a bathing ritual in the Indus Valley that involved intricate, ergonomic scrubbers tools so well designed they wouldn't look out of place in a luxury spa today. These discoveries aren't just curiosities, they're proof that our ancestors shared the same concerns we do. They wanted fresh breath, clean skin, and well-groomed hair, and they built ingenious solutions to make it happen. This journey through time isn't just about marveling at artifacts, it's about connecting with the people who used them. Every tool tells a story of innovation, of daily life, of the universal human desire to care for ourselves and our bodies. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore 28 of these astonishing creations, each one a testament to the creativity and practicality of ancient minds. From dental picks that rival modern floss to bathing accessories that wouldn't look out of place in a five-star hotel, you're about to see how the past was far more advanced and far more familiar than you ever imagined. So let's dive in and meet the ancient tools that prove hygiene has always been a priority, no matter the century. Let's start with a tool so cleverly designed, it could easily pass for a modern spa accessory: the Roman Strigil. Picture a sleek, curved blade made of bronze or iron, perfectly shaped to glide along the contours of the body. This wasn't just any scraper, it was the ancient world's answer to deep cleansing. After a vigorous workout or a soak in the baths, Greeks and Romans would slather themselves in olive oil, then use the strigil to whisk away sweat, grime, and even dead skin. The result, a refreshing, exfoliated feel, not unlike the smoothness we chase today with sugar scrubs and dry brushes. What's truly remarkable is how intuitive the design was. The strigil's gentle curve fit snugly against arms, legs, and backs, making it effortless to use without irritating the skin. Archaeologists have found these tools in everything from humble household kits to lavish burial sites, proving they were cherished across all levels of society. And here's the twist: some high-end strigils were even decorated with intricate engravings or made from precious metals, turning a practical tool into a status symbol. Imagine pulling out a silver-plated exfoliator at your local gym. That's the equivalent of what the elite were doing 2,000 years ago. But the strigil wasn't just about vanity. In a world without modern soaps, it played a vital role in preventing infections and keeping the skin healthy. Athletes, especially, relied on it to stay clean after competitions, much like today's runners might reach for a post-marathon cleansing wipe. It's a fascinating reminder that while our materials and methods have evolved, the fundamentals of self-care haven't changed. We're still chasing that same fresh, rejuvenated feeling, only now we've swapped bronze for bamboo and olive oil for aloe vera gel. The strigil's legacy lives on every time we exfoliate, proving that great ideas in hygiene truly stand the test of time. Now let's talk about something we all use daily: toothpaste, but not the kind you squeeze from a tube. Picture this: over 5,000 years ago, along the banks of the Nile, Egyptians were already mixing up a concoction to keep their teeth clean and breath fresh. Their recipe: crushed rock salt for grit, dried iris flowers for a floral kick, a handful of peppercorns for antibacterial punch, and mint leaves for that burst of freshness. Sound familiar? It should, because this ancient formula reads like a rough draft of the toothpaste sitting on your bathroom sink right now. What's truly striking isn't just the ingredients, but the ingenuity behind them. Those frayed twigs they used as toothbrushes, called chew sticks, weren't just crude tools. The fibers naturally splayed into bristles, and the wood often came from aromatic trees like neem or arak, adding an extra layer of cleansing power. Archaeologists have even found mummies with remarkably healthy teeth, suggesting this gritty paste and twig combo worked better than we might assume. And here's the kicker: some recipes included ox hoof ash or burnt eggshells for extra whitening, proving the obsession with a bright smile isn't just a modern vanity. But the real genius lies in the details. The Egyptians didn't just stumble upon this formula, they understood the science behind it. The salt acted as an abrasive to scrub away plaque, the pepper fought gum inflammation, and the mint. That was their natural breath freshener, masking odors just like today's peppermint oils. Fast forward to the 1930s, when modern toothpaste brands began touting minty freshness as a breakthrough, yet here were the Egyptians millennia ahead, already mixing it into their daily routine. It's a humbling reminder that innovation isn't always about inventing something new, but sometimes rediscovering what ancient civilizations perfected long ago. The next time you brush your teeth, take a second to appreciate how little the core idea has changed. We've swapped twigs for nylon bristles and rock salt for hydrated silica, but the goal remains the same: clean teeth, fresh breath, and a smile that stands the test of time, just like the wisdom of the Egyptians. Moving from teeth to ears, let's talk about one of the most surprisingly sophisticated tools in ancient hygiene: the Mesopotamian Ear Spoon. These weren't just rudimentary scoops, they were precision-engineered instruments, crafted from bronze or even silver, with slender handles and tiny, spoon-shaped tips designed to navigate the delicate curves of the ear canal. Think of them as the ancient equivalent of modern cotton swabs, but with a level of craftsmanship that would make today's disposable versions blush. What's fascinating isn't just the design, it's the clear understanding of anatomy behind it. These ear spoons weren't blunt or clumsy. Their gently curved tips prevented poking or scratching, showing that Mesopotamians prioritized safety as much as cleanliness. Archaeologists have found them in burial sites and household collections, often alongside other grooming tools, suggesting they were everyday essentials. And just like today's luxury skincare gadgets, some were elevated to works of art, adorned with intricate carvings, inlaid with precious stones, or even shaped into miniature sculptures of gods and animals. Imagine pulling out a silver ear spoon engraved with a roaring lion at a dinner party. It wasn't just a tool, it was a statement, but the real surprise: these weren't isolated inventions. Similar ear spoons popped up across ancient China, Rome, and India, each culture refining the design to suit local preferences. The Chinese versions, for example, often doubled as decorative hairpins, while Roman models sometimes featured a tiny loop at the end for hanging on personal care chains. This wasn't just about removing earwax. It was about integrating hygiene into daily life with elegance and practicality. Here's the kicker: modern IT specialists still warn against using cotton swabs too aggressively, citing the risk of pushing wax deeper or damaging the eardrum. Yet thousands of years ago, these ancient cultures had already figured out a safer alternative. Their ear spoons scooped wax without compacting it, proving that sometimes the oldest solutions are the most thoughtful. Next time you reach for a cotton swab, remember the Mesopotamians might have beaten you to the idea by several millennia, and they did it with a lot more style. Now let's turn our attention to an ancient grooming tool that blended luxury with practicality, the Chinese Jade nail cleaner. These weren't just functional implements, they were miniature works of art, meticulously carved from precious jade and often adorned with intricate designs of dragons, phoenixes, or floral motifs. For the nobility of ancient China, maintaining pristine nails wasn't just about cleanliness, it was a visual declaration of refinement and high status. Imagine holding a slender, cool piece of jade, its surface so smoothly polished it glided effortlessly along the edge of your nail, shaping and cleaning without a single rough edge. What makes these tools stand out isn't just their beauty, but the thoughtful engineering behind them. Jade's natural hardness meant it wouldn't wear down easily, while its smooth texture prevented the jagged edges or splinters that cheaper materials might cause. The curved tips were designed to scoop away dirt gently, and some even featured tiny hooks or loops for precision work, details that wouldn't look out of place in a modern manicurist's kit. Archaeologists have found these tools in tombs of the elite, often nestled alongside mirrors and combs, proof that nail care was a cornerstone of personal grooming rituals. But the real genius lies in the cultural significance. Jade wasn't chosen at random, it was revered in Chinese culture as a stone of purity and immortality, believed to carry protective energies. Using it for something as mundane as nail cleaning elevated the act into something sacred, a daily ritual that connected the user to tradition and spiritual ideals. It's a far cry from today's disposable emery boards, but the underlying principle remains the same. Taking care of your nails isn't just practical, it's a form of self-respect. Fast forward to modern luxury manicure sets with their gold-plated scissors and diamond-dusted files, and you'll see the same idea playing out. The materials have changed, but the desire to turn grooming into an experience, one that feels as indulgent as it is necessary, hasn't. The next time you trim your nails, consider this. The ancient Chinese elite were doing it with just as much care and arguably far more artistry. Their jade cleaners remind us that hygiene and beauty have always been intertwined, and sometimes the most everyday tools can be tiny masterpieces. The Romans didn't just master architecture and warfare, they revolutionized something far more mundane yet equally vital: public sanitation. Picture walking into one of their communal latrines, where rows of marble seats with neatly carved holes line the walls, each positioned over a channel of constantly flowing water. This wasn't just a place to relieve yourself, it was a feat of engineering designed to keep entire cities clean and disease-free. Beneath those seats, an intricate network of sewers whisked waste away to the Tiber River, a system so effective it put many medieval European cities to shame centuries later. But the real marvel wasn't just the plumbing, it was the little details. Instead of toilet paper, Romans used sponges tied to sticks, soaked in vinegar or salt water for disinfection. These communal cleaning tools were shared, a concept that might make modern germaphobes cringe, but they served a practical purpose. Vinegar's acidity killed bacteria, making it an early form of sanitizing wipes. Some latrines even featured decorative frescoes or statues of gods, turning a functional space into something unexpectedly elegant. Imagine sitting shoulder to shoulder with fellow citizens, discussing politics or gossip while water gurgled beneath you, proof that hygiene and social life weren't mutually exclusive. What's striking is how these latrines reflected broader Roman values. They were often built near public baths or forums, integrating sanitation into daily routines. Wealthy patrons sometimes funded their construction as acts of civic pride, much like modern philanthropists might donate a park or library, and the engineering. Impeccable, the slight incline of the sewer channels ensured waste never stagnated, while vents built into the walls minimized odors. Archaeologists have even found evidence of paid attendants who maintain the facilities, an ancient version of today's restroom custodians. Yet the most telling detail might be the sheer scale. Rome's Cloaca Maxima, or Great Sewer, begun in the 6th century BCE, still partially functions today. That's over 2,500 years of continuous use, a testament to Roman foresight. Modern cities still grapple with sanitation challenges, but the Romans cracked the code with a blend of practicality and ambition. Their public latrines weren't just about convenience, they were a declaration that cleanliness was a collective responsibility, one that required innovation, investment, and a touch of grandeur. Next time you flush a toilet, remember, the Romans were thinking about wastewater management long before it became a global priority. The ancient Greeks understood something we often forget today. Scent wasn't just about luxury, it was a necessity. In a world without modern plumbing or daily showers, fragrant oils played a crucial role in masking odors and even warding off disease. But what's truly remarkable is how they stored these precious liquids. Their perfume bottles weren't just functional containers, they were miniature masterpieces of design, crafted with the same care as their famous pottery and sculptures. Picture delicate glass vessels with slender, elongated necks, their surfaces adorned with intricate patterns of vines, gods, or mythical beasts. These weren't just pretty decorations. That narrow neck was a stroke of genius, slowing evaporation to preserve expensive oils drop by precious drop. What makes these bottles so fascinating is how closely they resemble modern perfume atomizers. The Greeks didn't just dump scents onto their skin, they applied them with precision, dabbing oils from tiny glass or ceramic stoppers designed to release just the right amount. Some bottles even featured built-in applicators like early rollerballs, proving that convenience has always been a priority. Archaeologists have found these vessels in everything from grand temples to humble graves, showing that fragrance wasn't just for the elite, it was a daily ritual for all levels of society. But the real surprise, the oils inside were far from simple. Greek perfumers blended ingredients like crushed rose petals, myrrh, and cinnamon into complex, layered scents, much like today's high-end perfumeries. They even understood the concept of scent notes, herbal top notes for freshness, spicy middle notes for warmth, and resinous base notes for longevity. Some recipes survive in ancient texts, revealing formulas that wouldn't seem out of place in a modern boutique. Perhaps the most telling detail is how these bottles traveled. Greek fragrance containers have been unearthed as far away as Egypt and Persia, often traded as luxury goods. That's right, perfume was the ancient world's version of designer fashion, a status symbol carried across continents. Next time you spritz on your favorite scent, remember, the Greeks were doing it with the same flair 2,000 years ago, proving that the desire to smell divine is truly timeless. The Indus Valley civilization may have flourished over 4,000 years ago, but their solution to a timeless problem, head lice, was so effective it still holds up today. These meticulous craftsmen carved combs with teeth so tightly spaced, not even the tiniest louse could slip through. Made from durable materials like wood or bone, these weren't just crude tools. They were precision instruments, their edges smooth to glide through hair without snagging. Archaeologists have unearthed them in homes and burial sites, some so well preserved you could run them through your hair right now, and they'd still do their job perfectly. What's striking isn't just the functionality but the artistry behind them. Many combs featured handles adorned with geometric patterns or animal motifs, transforming a practical object into something beautiful. Imagine a mother in ancient Mohenjo-Daro using a comb carved with peacocks to carefully remove lice from her child's hair, proof that even the most mundane tasks could be infused with care and creativity. And here's the kicker: modern lice combs with their ultra-fine metal teeth are virtually identical in design. The only real difference, we swapped bone for stainless steel. But the real genius lies in what these combs reveal about Indus Valley society. The widespread presence of these tools suggests lice weren't just an individual nuisance but a public health concern addressed collectively. Some combs show signs of repair, hinting they were treasured heirlooms passed down through generations. Even more telling, the uniformity in their craftsmanship. Standardized tooth spacing across finds from different cities implies a shared understanding of effective lice prevention, an early example of communal hygiene knowledge. Today, we might reach for chemical shampoos to tackle lice, but the principle remains unchanged. Mechanical removal is still the gold standard. Pediatricians often recommend fine-toothed combs as the safest, most effective treatment, especially for young children. It's humbling to realize that after millennia of medical advances, we're still relying on the same basic tool the Indus Valley invented. Their combs weren't just ahead of their time, they were timeless. When we think of Vikings, images of fierce warriors and longships often come to mind, not meticulous hygiene. But these Norse seafarers were far more refined than popular culture suggests, especially when it came to cleanliness. Their secret weapon, a simple yet revolutionary concoction of animal fat and wood ash, blended into one of history's earliest soaps. This wasn't just a greasy paste, it was a chemical marvel. When mixed with water, the alkaline ash reacted with the fat to create a frothy, grease-cutting lather capable of stripping away dirt, sweat, and even stubborn stains from woolen tunics. Archaeologists have found soap remnants in Viking settlements from Norway to Newfoundland, often shaped into convenient bars or stored in carved wooden containers, proof that hygiene was a priority, even on the high seas. What's fascinating isn't just the soap itself, but how Vikings used it. Sagas describe warriors washing their hair and beards before battles, not just for appearance but for practicality. Clean hair braided with fat-based pomades resisted freezing in icy winds, a clever hack for Arctic explorers. Laundry days were equally strategic. Boiling dirty clothes with soap in large iron pots didn't just remove grime. The high heat killed lice and bacteria, a crude but effective form of sanitization. And here's the twist: Viking women, often the keepers of household hygiene, were known to trade soap as a valuable commodity, much like we might swap beauty products today. The real genius lies in the chemistry. Modern soaps work on the same basic principle: fat molecules breaking down oils, just with refined ingredients like coconut oil or glycerin. Vikings may not have understood the science, but their trial and error process yielded a product startlingly close to what we use now. Excavations even reveal soap recipes scratched onto bone fragments, suggesting recipes were carefully recorded and passed down. But perhaps the most telling detail is how Viking soap defies stereotypes. These weren't unkempt raiders. They were innovators who turned a simple blend of ash and fat into a tool for health and comfort. Next time you lather up with a fancy scented bar, remember, the Vikings were doing it first, proving that cleanliness and civilization go hand in hand, no matter how rugged the era. The Aztecs took the concept of bathing far beyond simple cleanliness. They turned it into a transformative experience for both body and spirit. Their Temascals, low, dome-shaped sweat lodges built from volcanic stone, weren't just places to wash off dirt. They were sacred spaces where steam, scent, and ceremony merged into something extraordinary. Picture stepping into one of these chambers, the air thick with the aroma of copal resin and medicinal herbs like eucalyptus or sage, while water poured over scorching basalt rocks released clouds of purifying steam. This wasn't just a sauna, it was a ritual designed to sweat out impurities, soothe muscles, and even ease childbirth, all under the watchful gaze of Tosai, the goddess of healing and renewal. What set the Temascal apart was its intentional design. The small, dark interior amplified the heat, while the curved walls trapped steam efficiently, an ancient understanding of thermodynamics at work. Bathers would enter in groups, often led by a healer who guided the session with chants or drumbeats, alternating between intense heat and cool breaks to stimulate circulation. Herbs weren't just for fragrance, they were chosen for their therapeutic properties. Yotli, a native Mexican plant, acted as a natural antiseptic, while crushed cornmeal, sometimes mixed into the steam, gently exfoliated the skin. It's a level of sophistication that rivals modern spa treatments, blending physical detox with what we'd now call aromatherapy and mindfulness. But the real brilliance lay in how the Aztecs viewed cleanliness. To them, filth wasn't just physical, it could be spiritual or emotional, clinging to a person like shadow. The Temascal ritual often followed battles or major life events, a way to shed not just sweat but guilt, fatigue, or negative energy. Midwives used these baths to prepare women for labor, believing the steam relaxed the body and invited protective spirits. Even warriors purified themselves here before ceremonies, proving hygiene and holiness were inseparable. Today, the legacy of the Temascal lives on in more ways than one. Modern infrared saunas tout detox benefits, while steam rooms infuse eucalyptus for respiratory relief, echoing the Aztec blend of heat and herbs. But perhaps the most striking parallel is the growing popularity of wellness retreats that pair sweating with meditation or sound baths. The Aztecs would nod in recognition. They knew millennia ago that true cleansing isn't just skin deep. It's about tending to the body and the soul in one breath, one wave of steam, one ritual that reminds us we're more than just flesh and bone. The Romans didn't just conquer empires, they also waged war on body hair with tools so effective, you might find yourself reaching for one today. Picture a wealthy Roman woman lounging in her bathhouse, gliding a lightweight pumice stone over her skin to gently buff away unwanted hair. This wasn't just a crude scraping method, it was an early form of exfoliation that left skin smooth and polished. The porous texture of the stone worked like natural sandpaper, lifting hair at the root while sloughing off dead skin cells, a two-in-one beauty treatment that wouldn't look out of place in a modern spa. But pumice stones were just the beginning. For more precise grooming, Roman women turned to tweezers crafted from bronze or even mother-of-pearl, their delicate tips perfectly shaped to pluck stray hairs one by one. Archaeologists have found these tools in ornate cosmetic kits alongside mirrors and perfume bottles, often decorated with intricate engravings of goddesses or mythical scenes. These weren't just functional objects, they were status symbols reflecting a culture that valued grooming as an art form. What's fascinating isn't just the tools themselves, but the societal pressures behind them. Roman poets like Ovid wrote entire verses critiquing women's body hair, and frescoes from Pompeii depict smooth, hairless skin as the ideal. Even male athletes, especially wrestlers and runners, used pumice stones to remove body hair, believing it enhanced performance and cleanliness. The parallels to today's beauty standards are striking. Then as now, hair removal was about more than hygiene, it signaled refinement, discipline, and adherence to cultural norms. Yet the real ingenuity lies in the simplicity of the solutions. Pumice, formed from volcanic foam, was abundant, affordable, and naturally sterile, making it the perfect disposable tool. Tweezers, though more labor-intensive, offered precision that modern waxing strips can't match. And unlike today's chemical-laden depilatory creams, these methods relied on pure mechanics, proving that sometimes the oldest techniques are the gentlest on skin. Fast forward to modern times, and you'll see the same principles at work. Exfoliating mitts and crystal hair removal tools dominate beauty aisles, while high-end tweezers remain a staple in every makeup bag. The Romans might not have had laser clinics, but their approach combining practicality with a touch of luxury was remarkably advanced. Their obsession with smooth skin wasn't vanity. It was a testament to their understanding of the body as something to be cared for, polished, and perfected. So the next time you reach for a razor, remember, 2,000 years ago, someone in Rome was holding a pumice stone, chasing the very same ideal. Egyptian kohl eyeliner wasn't just makeup, it was a multi-purpose marvel that blurred the line between beauty and medicine. Picture a nobleman along the Nile, carefully dipping a slender ivory or bone stick into a pot of finely ground galena or malachite, then tracing dark, dramatic lines around his eyes. This wasn't about vanity alone, it was a daily ritual with life-saving benefits. The minerals in kohl, like lead sulfide, acted as natural antibiotics, shielding the eyes from infections rampant in the dusty riverbanks and crowded cities. Even more ingenious, the dark pigment reduced glare from the relentless sun, functioning like ancient sunglasses to improve vision in blinding daylight. What's striking is how scientifically sound this practice was. Modern studies have shown that low doses of lead in kohl triggered the production of nitric oxide in skin cells, boosting immunity against bacteria, a fact the Egyptians likely observed through trial and error. They didn't just stumble upon this formula, they refined it over centuries, blending minerals with animal fats or plant oils for smooth application. Archaeologists have found kohl pots in tombs across social classes, from pharaohs to laborers, proving its universal importance. Some containers even had compartments for different shades, suggesting an early understanding of makeup as customizable art. But the real brilliance lies in kohl's dual role. The same sooty lines that accentuated the almond shape of the eyes, a style immortalized in statues of Nefertiti, also repelled flies and deterred sand from irritating the cornea. It's no coincidence that Egyptian eye doctors were among the most advanced of their time. Their beauty rituals doubled as preventive medicine. Even children wore kohl, their parents applying it as protectively as modern parents might use sunscreen or insect repellent. Fast forward to today, and you'll see kohl's legacy everywhere. The eyeliners in your makeup bag owe their existence to these ancient formulations, and athletes still smear dark grease under their eyes to cut glare on sunny fields. But perhaps the most profound parallel is in modern ophthalmology. Silver nitrate drops, once used to prevent blindness in newborns, echo the Egyptians' medicinal use of metals. Their kohl wasn't just ahead of its time, it was a testament to the timeless idea that self-care isn't shallow. When beauty and wellness intertwine, the result isn't just striking, it's survival perfected over millennia. Imagine a beauty ritual where gleaming white teeth were considered unfinished, even uncivilized, and the height of elegance was a smile as dark as lacquer. In feudal Japan, this wasn't just a trend. It was a centuries-old tradition called Ohaguro, where both men and women stained their teeth jet black using a potent concoction of iron filings dissolved in vinegar, mixed with tannin-rich tea or sake. At first glance, it might seem like pure aesthetics, but this practice was rooted in surprising practicality. The iron solution didn't just dye teeth, it formed a protective coating over the enamel, acting as a primitive sealant against decay. In an era without fluoride or modern dentistry, Ohaguro was as much about preservation as it was about presentation. What's fascinating isn't just the chemistry behind it, it's the cultural weight this practice carried. For aristocrats and samurai families, blackened teeth signaled maturity and refinement. Young women would undergo the ritual upon marriage or coming of age, transforming their smiles into markers of social standing. The rich, glossy black was so prized that recipes for the dye were closely guarded secrets, with some formulas including spices like cinnamon or clove to mask the metallic taste. Picture a court lady in the Heian period, her powdered face and crimson lips framed by that striking Inca smile, a look so iconic it became synonymous with elegance in woodblock prints and literature. But Ohaguro wasn't just for the elite. By the Edo period, the practice trickled down to merchants and even some peasant classes, though their versions often used cheaper ingredients like burnt eggshells or oxidized iron scraps. The ritual itself was meticulous. Applying the dye required multiple layers over days, and maintenance meant reapplying it weekly to keep the color deep and uniform. Historians have found combs with tiny ink reservoirs built into the handles, suggesting touch-ups were as routine as modern lipstick reapplication, the real twist. Modern science has caught up with this ancient wisdom. Researchers now know the iron-tannin mixture created a mild chemical barrier that likely did slow cavity formation, much like contemporary dental sealants. And while the aesthetic might clash with today's obsession with pearly whites, the underlying principle using cosmetic rituals to enhance health is something we still embrace. Teeth whitening strips, fluoride treatments, even clear aligners all blur the same line Ohaguro did, beauty and biology intertwined. Perhaps the most poignant detail is how Ohaguro faded from practice. As Japan opened to Western influence in the late 19th century, blackened teeth became a symbol of backwardness, banned by the Meiji government as part of modernization efforts. Yet for over 1,000 years, it served as a testament to how cultures craft their own definitions of beauty, and how often those definitions are far more than skin deep. Next time you swipe on a lipstick or whiten your teeth, remember, the desire to transform our smiles isn't new. It's a thread that stretches back through time, connecting us to a world where black teeth weren't just fashionable. They were a badge of wisdom, resilience, and artistry. Medieval Europeans may not have had minty fresh toothpaste commercials, but their approach to fresh breath was surprisingly advanced and occasionally intense. Picture a knight returning from a long day in armor, reaching not for a tube of spearmint gel but for a wooden cup filled with a pungent blend of vinegar, crushed rosemary, and spiced wine. This wasn't just a quick rinse, it was a science experiment in oral hygiene. The vinegar's acidity killed odor-causing bacteria, while herbs like sage and thyme added antiseptic properties to soothe gums and mask stubborn smells. Some recipes even called for ground charcoal, a gritty addition that scrubbed away stains centuries before whitening strips hit pharmacy shelves. What makes these mixtures remarkable isn't just their ingenuity but their staying power. Monasteries, the medical hubs of the Middle Ages, often documented these recipes in meticulous detail. One 12th century manuscript from Salerno recommends a mouthwash of wine infused with cinnamon and honey, noting it should be swirled vigorously to loosen food particles, a technique not unlike modern instructions to gargle for 30 seconds. And while the idea of swishing vinegar might make your eyes water, medieval users likely diluted it with water or honey, balancing effectiveness with comfort. The real twist: some of these ingredients are staging a comeback. Activated charcoal is now a trendy teeth whitener, and herbalists still champion thyme for its antimicrobial properties. Even the vinegar rinse has modern devotees, though today's versions might swap wine for apple cider vinegar. It turns out medieval Europeans were onto something. Their mixtures tackled bad breath at the source rather than just masking it with fleeting sweetness. But perhaps the most telling detail is how personalized these recipes were. A noblewoman might add rose petals for a floral note, while a laborer could opt for cheaper herbs like parsley. The wealthy even carried mouthwash in ornate glass vials, a medieval version of pocket-sized breath spray. This wasn't one-size-fits-all hygiene. It was tailored self-care, proving that the desire for fresh breath isn't just universal, it's endlessly adaptable. Next time you reach for a mint, consider the medieval alternative. A swig of spiced vinegar might not sound appealing, but its legacy lingers in every modern mouthwash that prioritizes function over flavor. In the high-altitude palaces of the Inca Empire, nobility turned even the most mundane act nose cleaning into an art form. These weren't crude fingers or rough cloths. They used slender, meticulously crafted gold picks, some no thicker than a blade of grass, to tend to their nasal hygiene with precision. Imagine a ruler perched atop Machu Picchu, lifting a tool so finely wrought it caught the sunlight like liquid metal, its tip gently curved to navigate the contours of the nostrils without irritation. This wasn't just about cleanliness, it was a statement of power, refinement, and divine connection, gold being the sacred metal of the sun god in Thai. What makes these tools extraordinary isn't just their material but their intentional design. Unlike the blunt bone or wood picks found in other cultures, Incan nose tools were engineered for comfort, with smoothed edges and slight flecks to avoid scratching delicate membranes. Archaeologists have unearthed them in royal tombs, often alongside ceremonial jewelry, suggesting they were considered personal treasures. Some featured miniature sculptures at the handle, condors, serpents, or even tiny portraits of rulers, transforming a functional object into a portable masterpiece. The message was clear: even the most private acts of grooming deserved elegance when performed by the elite, but the real genius lies in the cultural context. In the thin, dry air of the Andes, nasal passages often suffered from irritation or bleeding. Gold, with its natural anti-inflammatory properties, may have offered subtle relief, a practical benefit wrapped in luxury. The picks also played a role in rituals. Sniffing powdered hallucinogens during ceremonies required pristine nasal passages, making these tools as sacred as they were sanitary. Fast forward to today, and the parallels are striking. Modern luxury grooming sets still feature gold-plated tweezers or nail tools, marketed as much for their status as their function. The Incas understood this duality centuries ago. Hygiene isn't just about utility, it's about identity. Every time we reach for a designer skincare product or a monogrammed toiletry, we're echoing their belief that self-care is inseparable from self-expression. Perhaps the most poignant detail is how these picks reflect Inca values. Gold wasn't hoarded for wealth alone. It was a medium for craftsmanship, a way to elevate everyday life into something worthy of the gods. Their nose picks remind us that even the smallest rituals performed with intention and artistry can become acts of reverence, a lesson as timeless as the gleaming metal they chose to wield. Babylonian physicians understood something modern science confirms. The tongue harbors more bacteria than almost any other part of the mouth, their solution. Elegant, hook-shaped scrapers forged from copper or silver, designed to glide across the tongue's surface and lift away the whitish coating of dead cells and microbes. These weren't crude tools, they were precision instruments, their edges smooth to avoid irritating delicate tissue while their slightly curved shape followed the natural contours of the tongue. Archaeologists have unearthed these scrapers in burial sites and household ruins, some still bearing the faint patina of frequent use, proof that oral care was a daily ritual, not an afterthought. What's striking isn't just the design's effectiveness, but the materials chosen. Copper, now known for its antimicrobial properties, actively inhibited bacterial growth between cleanings. Silver, reserved for the elite, added a touch of luxury while offering similar hygienic benefits. The Babylonians didn't just stumble upon these metals, they selected them for observable benefits, crafting tools that worked on multiple levels. Some specimens even feature ornate handles shaped like animals or deities, blurring the line between medical instrument and personal adornment, the real surprise. How little the core design has changed. Modern tongue scrapers, whether made of stainless steel or plastic, mirror the Babylonian model, almost exactly same gentle curve, same blunt edge for safe scraping. Even the technique remains unchanged. Ancient medical texts describe pulling the scraper from the back of the tongue forward, just as dentists recommend today. It's a rare case where millennia of innovation barely altered a tool because the original worked so perfectly. But the deeper significance lies in what these scrapers reveal about Babylonian culture. They didn't isolate oral care from overall health. Their medical tablets linked tongue cleaning to digestion and immunity, concepts modern medicine now validates. A clean tongue wasn't just about fresh breath, it was about balance, a belief that hygiene and wellness were intertwined. Next time you reach for a tongue scraper, consider this. You're participating in a ritual that's over 4,000 years old, one that connects you to a civilization who understood the art of care long before microscopes or germ theory. The Babylonians didn't just invent a tool, they perfected a philosophy, one that whispers across time. True cleanliness begins with attention to detail. The ancient Greeks had a solution for toilet hygiene that was both practical and surprisingly sustainable: sponge sticks. Picture a simple wooden handle with a natural sea sponge fastened to one end, soaked in a bucket of salt water or vinegar between uses. This wasn't just a makeshift tool, it was a carefully considered system designed for cleanliness in an era before disposable paper. After finishing their business, users would reach for one of these sponges, give it a quick rinse in the communal solution, and wipe themselves clean. The vinegar or salt water acted as a natural disinfectant, killing bacteria and reducing odors, while the sponge's texture provided gentle yet thorough cleaning, arguably more effective than rough early versions of paper. What makes these sponge sticks remarkable isn't just their functionality, but the communal approach to sanitation. Public latrines often had buckets of the cleaning solution placed between seats, turning hygiene into a shared responsibility. Archaeologists have found evidence of these setups in bathhouses and private homes alike, suggesting the practice was widespread across social classes. The sponges themselves were durable, regularly replaced, and sometimes even labeled with ownership marks to prevent mix-ups, a nod to both practicality and personal propriety. But the real ingenuity lies in the materials. Sea sponges are naturally antimicrobial, resistant to mold, and highly absorbent, making them ideal for repeated use. The Greeks didn't just grab whatever was handy, they selected a material with inherent hygienic properties. And while the idea of sharing sponges might make modern audiences cringe, the vinegar soak was a rudimentary form of sterilization, not unlike the antiseptic wipes we use today. The legacy of these sponge sticks lives on in unexpected ways. Bidets, popular in many cultures today, operate on the same principle of water-based cleaning, and reusable cloth wipes are making a comeback among eco-conscious consumers. The Greeks understood something we're only recently rediscovering. Sometimes the most effective solutions are the simplest ones, designed to work with nature rather than against it. Their sponge sticks weren't just a stopgap, they were a testament to the timeless pursuit of cleanliness, resourcefulness, and shared responsibility. the Persians faced a problem that still plagues arid regions today: how to deliver clean water across vast distances without losing it to evaporation or contamination. Their solution, the Kanat, an underground marvel of engineering that didn't just move water but purified it through nature's own filtration system. Picture a gently sloping tunnel, sometimes stretching over 30 miles, carved deep beneath the desert floor. As groundwater seeped into these channels, layers of sand and gravel acted like a massive sieve, trapping sediment and impurities long before the water reached its destination. This wasn't just plumbing, it was a self-cleaning infrastructure that turned undrinkable groundwater into crystal-clear streams flowing into public baths, homes, and even lush gardens in the heart of the desert. What sets Kanats apart from other ancient water systems is their sustainability. Unlike Roman aqueducts that required constant maintenance to clear mineral deposits, Kanats used gravity and natural materials to keep water fresh. Vertical access shafts, spaced at regular intervals, allowed for cleaning and repairs without disrupting the flow, a design so effective that some Kanats remain operational after 2,000 years. The Persian city of Ghanabad still relies on its ancient Kanat system today, a testament to engineering that prioritized longevity over spectacle. But the real stroke of genius was how Kanats transformed hygiene in unexpected ways. The cool, shaded tunnels inhibited bacterial growth, while the slow movement of water allowed oxygen to dissolve, keeping it fresh without chemical treatments. Public bathhouses built at Kanat outlets became hubs of cleanliness and social life, much like modern spas. Even the placement of Kanats was strategic, running beneath residential areas to supply private courtyards with water for washing, cooking, and ritual purification before prayers. Modern water systems owe more to Kanats than we might realize. The principle of groundwater filtration through natural layers mirrors today's slow sand filtration plants, and the use of gravity-fed distribution is echoed in contemporary municipal water networks. The Persians didn't just solve a practical problem. They demonstrated that the most elegant solutions often work with nature rather than against it. Next time you turn on a tap, remember, the essence of clean, reliable water delivery was perfected centuries ago by engineers who saw the desert not as a barrier but as a challenge to innovate. The Mayans didn't just fill cavities, they turned teeth into glittering works of art. Imagine a skilled healer in ancient Mesoamerica, carefully drilling tiny, precise holes into a patient's front teeth, then fitting them with gemstones like jade, turquoise, or even gold. This wasn't mere decoration. It was a fusion of vanity and medical expertise that required an intimate understanding of oral anatomy. Using obsidian blades and bone drills, Mayan dentists carved cavities deep enough to hold the stones securely but shallow enough to avoid hitting sensitive nerves, a balancing act that modern dentists still navigate today. What makes these dental inlays extraordinary isn't just their sparkle but the science behind them. The gems weren't glued in haphazardly. They were wedged into grooves with such precision that many remained intact for centuries, even after burial. Researchers have found skeletons where the jewels outlasted the teeth themselves, still locked in place long after the bone around them decayed. The stone's smooth surfaces may have even served a practical purpose, reducing plaque buildup by creating fewer crevices for bacteria to hide, a side benefit the Mayans likely noticed over time. But the real marvel is what this practice reveals about Mayan society. These weren't quick, painful procedures performed in back alleys. Elite dentists, often doubling as priests, sterilized their tools with fermented plant extracts and used natural anesthetics like coca leaves to numb the pain. The choice of materials carried spiritual weight too. Jade symbolized life and fertility, while pyrite mirrored the glow of the sun god Kinish Ahau. A gem-studded smile wasn't just fashionable, it was a walking prayer, a declaration of divine connection etched into enamel. Modern cosmetic dentistry echoes this tradition in surprising ways. Today's tooth gems, popularized by celebrities, are applied with adhesive instead of drills, but the desire to transform teeth into personal canvases remains unchanged. Even the Mayans' obsession with symmetry, matching stones on either side of the mouth, finds its parallel in contemporary veneer placements. The difference. We now understand the risks of drilling into healthy teeth, a line the Mayans crossed in pursuit of beauty, yet the most poignant detail lies in the cracks. Some excavated teeth show signs of repair, suggesting the Mayans revisited their dentists for touch-ups, just as we might return for a filling or crown. These tiny, glittering time capsules remind us that the line between medicine and self-expression has always been blurred. The Mayans didn't just invent cosmetic dentistry, they celebrated it, turning each smile into a testament to human ingenuity and our timeless urge to shine. Roman bath sponges weren't just cleaning tools, they were nature's perfect exfoliators, carefully harvested from the Mediterranean to pamper skin with a touch of luxury. Picture a Roman bather in the Grand Thermae, reaching for a sponge the size of their palm, its porous surface slightly rough yet yielding under warm water. Unlike the harsh pumice stones used for calluses, these sponges offered a gentler alternative, their fibrous structure lifting away dead skin without irritation. Archaeologists have found sponge fragments preserved in bathhouse drains, their shapes intact enough to reveal how they were trimmed into ergonomic ovals for easy gripping, a detail that wouldn't look out of place in today's beauty aisle. What made these sponges so special was their dual-action design. Soaked in scented oils or herbal infusions, they transformed into self-lathering tools, releasing suds as they glided over the skin. The natural silica in sponge fibers provided just enough abrasion to buff away flakiness, while the sponge's elasticity prevented overscrubbing. Wealthy Romans even imported rare honeycomb sponges from the Aegean, prized for their ultra-fine texture, the ancient equivalent of splurging on a high-end exfoliating mitt. But the real innovation lay in their sustainability. Unlike modern plastic loofahs that shed microfibers, sea sponges were biodegradable and renewable. Harvesters practiced selective cutting, leaving the base intact to regrow, an early nod to eco-conscious consumption. After months of use, worn-out sponges found second lives as paint applicators or wound dressings, their antibacterial properties repurposed for medical care. The legacy of Roman bath sponges lives on in today's skincare rituals. Korean Italy towels, Japanese washcloths, and even konjac sponges all echo the same principle. Gentle, natural exfoliation is timeless. Next time you lather up with a poof, remember the Romans were perfecting the art of soft scrubbing centuries ago, proving that great skincare isn't about reinvention, but rediscovering nature's brilliance. The ancient Egyptians didn't just mummify bodies, they mastered the art of mummifying odors too. Imagine a noblewoman in Thebes, blending crushed carob pods with fragrant incense and zesty citrus rinds into a thick paste, then dabbing it onto her skin to combat the relentless desert heat. This wasn't just perfume, it was one of history's earliest deodorants, a clever fusion of chemistry and botany designed to neutralize sweat rather than mask it. The carob acted as a natural absorbent, soaking up moisture like modern cornstarch-based powders, while the citrus's acidic punch created an inhospitable environment for odor-causing bacteria. As for the incense, it wasn't just for scent. Resins like frankincense had mild antimicrobial properties, making this trio a surprisingly sophisticated defense against body odor millennia before lab-made antiperspirants hit shelves. What's remarkable isn't just the ingredients but how widespread the practice was. Tomb paintings depict both men and women applying these mixtures, often while seated at ornate vanity tables surrounded by jars of other cosmetics. Archaeologists have even found remnants of deodorant pastes in workers' quarters at Deir el-Medina, proving hygiene wasn't reserved for the elite. Some recipes, preserved on papyrus, include precise ratios like a 2-to-1 blend of carob to citron, suggesting Egyptians treated odor prevention with the same precision as their medical remedies. The real genius lies in their understanding of cause and effect. Without microscopes, they couldn't see bacteria, but they knew certain substances kept smells at bay longer than others. Tamarind paste, another popular ingredient, contains tartaric acid, which modern science confirms disrupts bacterial growth. They also recognized that sweat itself wasn't the enemy, it was the breakdown of sweat by microbes. Their solutions targeted the root of the problem. Much like today's aluminum-based antiperspirants block pores to inhibit bacterial feasts. Fast forward to the late 19th century, when the first commercial deodorants emerged, and you'll notice an eerie similarity. Early ads touted botanical extracts and natural astringents, rebranding what the Egyptians had perfected. Even the shift from pastes to solids echoes history. Egyptians sometimes shaped their mixtures into dried cakes for portability, a precursor to stick deodorants. But perhaps the most telling detail is how these ancient rituals mirror contemporary trends. The rise of natural deodorants free from aluminum and parabens isn't a modern revolution. It's a return to the very principles the Egyptians championed. Their carob and citrus blends prove that sometimes the most effective solutions aren't invented, they're rediscovered, one fragrant layer at a time. Long before plastic handles and nylon bristles became bathroom staples, the Tang dynasty in China was already perfecting the art of toothbrush design with a startlingly modern approach. Picture a 7th century craftsman carefully bundling stiff hog hairs, tying them securely into tiny holes drilled at the end of a bamboo handle. This wasn't just a prototype, it was a fully realized oral care tool. Its bristle arrangement so effective that the basic concept remains unchanged over 13 centuries later. The bamboo's natural antimicrobial properties prevented bacterial growth, while the hog bristles, trimmed to a precise length, offered just the right balance of stiffness for scrubbing and flexibility to protect gums. Archaeologists have found these brushes in tombs alongside other personal care items, their handles often carved with intricate patterns or family symbols, proving they were valued possessions rather than disposable tools. What makes these early toothbrushes remarkable isn't just their functionality but the global journey they sparked. Along the Silk Road, traders carried these chew sticks with bristles to Persia and the Middle East, where scholars praised their superiority over traditional miswak twigs. By the 15th century, European travelers like Anthony Jenkinson documented Chinese merchants brushing daily, a habit that seemed exotic to Europeans still using rag-wrapped soot or salt for teeth cleaning. The design's genius lay in its adaptability. When hog bristles were scarce, artisans substituted horsehair or even feather quills, always maintaining that critical bristle structure. The real breakthrough, however, was in the ergonomics. Unlike flat-ended chew sticks, these brushes had angled bristle clusters that could reach molar grooves and gum lines, a detail modern toothbrushes wouldn't rediscover until the 20th century. Some excavated specimens even show where patterns suggesting users employed the same gentle circular motions dentists recommend today. And while we might cringe at the idea of animal hair bristles now, their natural texture had an unexpected benefit. Each strand's microscopic scales created a slight polishing effect, much like the micro-textured bristles in today's premium electric toothbrush heads. Fast forward to the 1930s when DuPont invented nylon, and you'll see history come full circle. The first nylon bristled brushes were initially criticized for being too harsh, a problem Tang Dynasty users avoided by selecting softer neck bristles for sensitive teeth. It's a reminder that ancient innovation wasn't just about invention. It was about refinement, about observing how small tweaks could make good tools extraordinary. Next time you brush your teeth, take a moment to appreciate that humble bamboo handle from over 1,000 years ago, because every stroke is a tribute to one of hygiene's most enduring evolutions. Viking Ear Wax Scoops prove that even history's most feared warriors paid meticulous attention to personal hygiene. These weren't crude sticks or makeshift tools, they were precision instruments, shaped from bone, antler, or even bronze into slender spoons with edges so smooth they could navigate the ear's delicate curves without a single scratch. Picture a Norse sailor on a longship, pausing between raids to carefully clean his ears with a tool as refined as anything in today's grooming kits. The design was deceptively simple. A tiny scoop at one end to gently lift wax and a rounded tip to prevent poking too deep. Archaeologists have found these scoops in burial sites across Scandinavia, often tucked into small leather pouches alongside combs and nail cleaners, proof that ear care was part of a Viking's daily ritual. What sets these tools apart is their ergonomic brilliance. Unlike the sharp metal picks used by some ancient cultures, Viking scoops had a slight curve that mirrored the ear canal's natural shape. This wasn't accidental. Sagas describe healers warning against reckless digging, showing an awareness of anatomy that rivals modern INTI advice. Some scoops even featured loops or holes at the handle, allowing them to hang from personal care chains worn at the waist, a Viking version of today's keychain multi-tools. The choice of materials mattered too. Bone, a common material, was naturally antimicrobial, while bronze versions reserved for the wealthy oxidized slightly over time, creating a surface that may have inhibited bacterial growth. But the real surprise lies in the cultural context. Vikings believed earwax buildup could dull hearing, a serious liability for seafarers relying on distant whale calls or enemy oars. Clean ears weren't just about comfort, they were a tactical advantage. This practicality extended to their grooming kits, which were often passed down generations. Excavations reveal scoops with handles worn smooth from decades of use, suggesting they were treasured as both tools and heirlooms. Fast forward to today, and you'll see the same principles at work. Modern ear scoops, popular in parts of Asia, are nearly identical in shape, just made of stainless steel instead of bone. Even the warnings in Viking sagas echo contemporary medical advice. Never insert anything smaller than your elbow into your ear. The Vikings may not have understood germ theory, but their intuitive approach to hygiene was remarkably prescient. Next time you reach for a cotton swab, remember, those fierce Norse explorers had already perfected a safer, more sustainable alternative over 1,000 years ago. Their ear wax scoops weren't just tools. They were a testament to the idea that even the smallest acts of self-care require thoughtfulness, precision, and respect for the body's delicate design. Roman nail files prove that even the smallest details of personal grooming mattered in antiquity, and their approach to manicures was nearly identical to ours. Picture a wealthy Roman matron reclining in her atrium, smoothing her nails with a slender bronze file, its surface etched with delicate floral patterns or miniature scenes from mythology. This wasn't just a utilitarian tool, it was an accessory, as much a part of her beauty ritual as the gold rings adorning her fingers. Archaeologists have unearthed these files in everything from military outposts to lavish villas, their surfaces worn smooth from years of use. The designs vary from simple, unadorned strips for soldiers to ornate versions inlaid with silver or ivory for elite women, proof that nail care transcended gender and class in Roman society. What makes these files remarkable is their precision engineering. Unlike rough stone or pumice used by earlier cultures, Roman files featured finely scored metal surfaces that emery boards still mimic today. The scoring wasn't random. Craftsmen created gradients with coarser teeth at one end for shaping and finer grooves at the other for polishing. Some even had rounded tips for cleaning under nails, a detail modern manicure kits wouldn't adopt until the 20th century. The metal itself, often bronze or iron, was chosen for durability, resisting rust better than steel in humid bathhouse environments. But the real story lies in how these tools reflect Roman values. Well-groomed nails signaled cleanliness and discipline, especially for men in public life. Senators and orators were expected to maintain neat hands, as gestures played a crucial role in rhetoric. For women, manicures were part of a broader beauty regimen documented in Ovid's poetry, where he teasingly advises lovers to keep nails neither too blunt nor too sharp. Even gladiators used nail files, not for vanity but practicality. Splintered nails could snag on nets or leather straps during combat. The parallels to modern manicure culture are striking. Roman files have been found with tiny carrying cases, the ancient equivalent of today's travel-sized kits. Wealthy households employed ornatrixes, slave beauticians specializing in nail and hair care, foreshadowing contemporary nail technicians. And just as we debate square versus almond shapes, Roman fashion fluctuated between rounded nails for youth and squared tips for maturity. Perhaps the most poignant discovery is a child's grave in Pompeii containing a miniature file, its small size suggesting even the young participated in grooming rituals. This simple object whispers across centuries, reminding us that the desire to care for ourselves, down to the very tips of our fingers, is a thread connecting humanity across time. The next time you smooth a ragged edge with an emery board, remember, you're holding the direct descendant of a tool that once rested in the hands of emperors, poets, and warriors, all united by the timeless pursuit of something as simple as a well-kept nail. The Aztecs turned volcanic glass into one of history's most unexpectedly sophisticated grooming tools, obsidian razors so sharp they could rival a modern scalpel. Picture a craftsman in Tenochtitlan carefully flaking a chunk of glossy black obsidian into a blade thinner than a fingernail, its edge honed to a molecular sharpness no metal could achieve. These weren't crude scrapers, they were precision instruments, their curved edges designed to glide along the contours of skin, removing hair with minimal irritation. Archaeologists have found these blades in ceremonial caches and household burials alike, some still retaining their lethal edge after centuries, proof that the Aztecs valued smooth skin as much for ritual as for daily hygiene. What made these razors extraordinary wasn't just their sharpness but their versatility. Warriors used them to shave their heads before battle, creating intimidating silhouettes while reducing the risk of enemies grabbing their hair. Nobles employed finer blades for intricate facial hair designs, turning grooming into a status symbol. Even midwives relied on obsidian razors for postpartum rituals, carefully shaving mothers and newborns as part of purification ceremonies. The blade's near-surgical precision allowed for scarification too, delicate patterns etched into the skin during rites of passage, their clean cuts healing faster than jagged metal wounds. The real stroke of genius lay in the material itself. Obsidian, formed when molten lava cools rapidly, fractures into edges only a few molecules thick, far sharper than even the finest steel. Modern studies show these blades can make incisions with almost no tissue damage, a property some surgeons are now revisiting for specialized procedures. The Aztecs didn't just stumble upon this property, they mastered it, developing pressure flaking techniques to control the angle of each fracture. Some razors were so meticulously crafted they could split a single strand of hair lengthwise, a feat modern straight razors struggle to match. But perhaps the most revealing detail is how these tools bridged the mundane and the sacred. A nobleman's morning shave might use the same blade later employed in a temple ceremony to draw ceremonial blood. This duality between personal care and spiritual practice shows how deeply hygiene was woven into Aztec cosmology. Cleanliness wasn't just about appearance, it was a dialogue with the gods, a way to honor the body as a vessel for divine energy. Today, obsidian's legacy lives on in surprising places. Dermatologists praise its precision for sensitive skin, while barbers in Oaxaca still use traditional blades for ultra-close shaves. The next time you drag a disposable razor across your face, consider this. The Aztecs achieved a closer shave 500 years ago with nothing but volcanic glass and an artisan's steady hand. Their razors remind us that true innovation often lies not in complexity, but in understanding nature's hidden gifts and shaping them with reverence. In the crowded market squares of medieval Europe, a single professional stood ready to trim your hair, pull a rotten tooth, or even perform emergency bloodletting, the barber surgeon. These multitasking practitioners carried kits that blurred the line between grooming and medicine, their tools gleaming under the same leather straps that held scissors alongside bone saws. Picture a wooden case unfurled to reveal an array of polished metal instruments, razors for close shaves, curved lancets for draining abscesses, and delicate forceps perfect for plucking stray hairs or stubborn teeth. This wasn't just a collection of random tools, it was a carefully curated system where hygiene and healing were inseparable. A pair of shears might smooth a nobleman's beard 1 hour and snip away infected tissue the next, their edges sterilized over candle flames between uses. What made these kits revolutionary wasn't just their versatility but their standardization. Guild regulations required specific tools for apprenticeship exams, ensuring even rural barber surgeons carried nearly identical implements. The scissors, with their distinctive rounded tips, prevented accidental stabbing during close work, while the tweezers, often featuring serrated inner edges, could grip everything from ingrown hairs to arrow fragments. Archaeologists have uncovered these kits from London to Constantinople, their contents remarkably consistent despite the vast distances. Some even included small mirrors for precise work, proving that barber surgeons valued visibility long before modern operating lights. The real genius lay in how these tools reflected medieval understanding of the body. Bloodletting, now dismissed as pseudoscience, was believed to purge bad humors and prevent disease, making a clean shave and a vein incision part of the same wellness routine. Herbs like lavender or rosemary were kept nearby, their antiseptic properties unknowingly protecting patients during procedures. Even the iconic barber's pole, with its red and white stripes, symbolized this dual role, the white for bandages, the red for blood, twisted together around a pole representing the staff patient's grip during treatments. But perhaps the most telling detail is how these kits evolved. By the Renaissance, specialized surgeons began distancing themselves from barbers, yet the tools remained virtually unchanged. Modern surgical scissors still echo those medieval designs, and the humble tweezer, once used equally for splinters and tooth extractions, is now a staple in both makeup bags and emergency rooms. The barber surgeon's legacy reminds us that the line between beauty and health has always been thin, and that the simplest tools often endure longest when they're crafted to serve multiple truths, that looking good and feeling well are, at their core, two sides of the same carefully honed blade. Long before modern water purifiers and chlorine tablets, ancient Indians had perfected a self-cleaning water system using nothing more than the metal beneath their feet, copper. Picture a village home in the Indus Valley where a gleaming pot sits by the doorway, its curved sides reflecting sunlight while keeping the water inside fresh for days. This wasn't just a storage vessel, it was a primitive purification plant, leveraging copper's natural ability to annihilate bacteria long before microscopes revealed why. The science behind it is astonishingly precise. When water rests in copper, ions slowly leach into the liquid, disrupting the cellular machinery of harmful microbes like E. coli and cholera. Modern labs have clocked this process. Copper surfaces can eliminate over 99% of bacteria within just 2 hours, a fact that validates what Indian households observed empirically for millennia. What makes these vessels extraordinary isn't just their effectiveness but their integration into daily life. Texts like the Charaka Samhita, written over 2,000 years ago, prescribe storing water in copper pots to balance the body's doshas and prevent disease. Families would fill their pots at dawn, letting the water rest until midday when the metal's ions had worked their magic. The ritual wasn't reserved for the elite. Archaeological finds include simple copper lotas in farming villages and ornate, engraved versions in royal kitchens, proving clean water was a universal priority. Even the shape of the vessels mattered. Their wide mouths allowed for easy cleaning, while the narrow necks minimized dust and insect contamination, a design still echoed in today's water dispensers. The real stroke of genius lay in the material's adaptability. Unlike silver, which was costly, copper was abundant and reusable, its antimicrobial properties undiminished by years of wear. Over time, a patina would form, a greenish layer that ancient texts advised scrubbing off periodically, unknowingly removing oxidized copper that could irritate the gut. This maintenance ritual, passed down through generations, shows how deeply the science of hygiene was woven into cultural practice. Modern hospitals are now rediscovering this wisdom, installing copper doorknobs and bedrails to combat antibiotic-resistant superbugs, a silent nod to those ancient pot makers. But perhaps the most poignant detail is how these vessels bridge the spiritual and the scientific. In Ayurveda, copper water wasn't just sterile, it was considered charged, capable of energizing the body and sharpening the mind. Today, we'd call this ionization, but to the ancients, it was proof of nature's hidden intelligence. The next time you see a copper water bottle in a yoga studio or wellness shop, remember, you're holding a descendant of one of humanity's oldest and most enduring health hacks, a tool that purified water, bodies, and minds long before the word germ even existed. Greek athletes didn't just train their bodies, they perfected the art of post-workout recovery with a simple yet revolutionary tool, the araballos, a compact clay flask designed to hold precious olive oil for skin care. Picture a sprinter in the Olympic Stadium, his muscles glistening under the Mediterranean sun, reaching for this palm-sized bottle after a grueling race. With a few drops of oil massaged into his skin, he wasn't just moisturizing, he was engaging in an ancient form of sports hygiene that balanced practicality and ritual. These unassuming flasks, often decorated with athletic scenes or geometric patterns, were the ancient equivalent of today's gym bag essentials, proof that the connection between physical exertion and skin care is as old as competition itself. What made these oil bottles so ingenious was their dual purpose. Olive oil, a staple of Greek life, acted as a natural cleanser when rubbed across sweaty skin, lifting dirt and grime without stripping moisture, a concept modern skincare brands would later rebrand as oil cleansing. After scraping away the mixture with a strigil, athletes were left with supple, clean skin, protected from the harsh elements of outdoor training grounds. The Arrabellos itself was a marvel of ergonomic design, with a narrow neck to control oil flow and a rounded body that fit snugly in the palm, often tied to the wrist with a leather strap for easy access during workouts. Archaeologists have found these flasks in locker rooms of ancient gymnasiums, their interiors still bearing traces of oil mixed with aromatic herbs like thyme or rosemary, early versions of the scented post-shower lotions we use today. But the real brilliance of this ritual lay in its holistic approach. Greek physicians like Galen documented how oil massage improved circulation and reduced muscle stiffness, foreshadowing modern sports science's emphasis on recovery. The act of anointing the body after exertion also carried spiritual weight, a nod to the belief that physical excellence honored the gods. Even the social aspect mirrored contemporary locker room culture. Athletes would share oils and strigils, turning hygiene into a communal experience. Fast forward to today, and the parallels are striking. The rise of post-workout serums and moisturizers loaded with olive-derived squalene echoes the Greek reliance on nature's simplest ingredients. Modern athletes might spritz on arnica-infused sprays instead of herb-laden oils, but the principle remains unchanged. Recovery isn't just about what happens inside the body, but how we care for the skin that carries us through every challenge. The Arrabellos wasn't just a bottle, it was a testament to the timeless truth that peak performance begins with treating the body as something sacred, one drop of oil at a time. The ancient Egyptians transformed something as simple as smoke into a powerful tool for purification, long before we had air filters or disinfectant sprays. Picture a temple priest in Thebes, carefully arranging lumps of fragrant resin on a bronze brazier, the rich scent of myrrh and frankincense curling through the air as flames licked at their edges. This wasn't just for ambience, it was a deliberate act of hygiene, a way to cleanse spaces of unseen threats long before germs were understood. When the smoke drifted through hallways and sick rooms, it carried more than just a pleasant aroma, it delivered a potent dose of natural antiseptics. Modern studies reveal that burning these resins releases compounds like terpenes and phenols, which can kill airborne bacteria and even repel insects. The Egyptians may not have known the science, but they observed the results. Homes and temples fumigated regularly had fewer outbreaks of illness, and the air itself felt lighter, cleaner. What's striking isn't just the practicality, but the duality of purpose. Fumigation blurred the line between physical and spiritual hygiene. The same smoke that sanitized the air was believed to carry prayers to the gods, driving away malevolent spirits alongside disease. Papyrus texts describe elaborate rituals where priests circled rooms with censers, chanting as they purified spaces for both the living and the dead. In tombs, resins like frankincense were placed near mummies, their antimicrobial properties unintentionally preserving the bodies they were meant to honor. This fusion of science and symbolism feels eerily familiar. Think of how we light scented candles today to freshen a room, chasing both germs and bad vibes with a single flame. The real ingenuity lay in the specifics. Egyptians didn't burn just any aromatic plant. They curated blends for different purposes. Myrrh, with its high antiseptic properties, dominated sick rooms, while kyphire, a complex mix of honey, wine, and 16 botanicals, was reserved for temples, its soothing aroma thought to ease the mind. Some recipes inscribed on temple walls read like ancient versions of modern diffuser blends: juniper for purification, cinnamon for warmth, and pine resin for its crisp, cleansing bite. Even the tools were meticulously designed. Censers featured perforated lids to control smoke density, and portable versions allowed fumigation to travel, whether to a pharaoh's bedchamber or a merchant's stall in the marketplace. Fast forward to today, and the legacy of Egyptian fumigation is everywhere. Hospitals use UV light and HEPA filters, but the principle remains the same: clean air supports health. The resurgence of smudging with sage or Palo Santo mirrors their spiritual approach, while essential oil diffusers offer a high-tech twist on those bronze braziers. The Egyptians understood something we're still rediscovering. True purification isn't just about killing pathogens, it's about creating an environment that feels as good as it is safe. Their fragrant smoke bridged worlds, proving that sometimes the most effective solutions are those that speak to both body and soul. From Roman Strigils to Egyptian toothpaste, these 28 ancient hygiene tools reveal a truth that reshapes how we view the past. Our ancestors weren't just surviving, they were innovating with remarkable sophistication. Each artifact we've explored, whether it's the Vikings' antibacterial soap or the Mayans' gem-studded dentistry, tells a story of human ingenuity that transcends time. What's astonishing isn't just their functionality, but the artistry behind them: bronze ear spoons adorned with intricate engravings, jade nail cleaners carved with mythical creatures, even obsidian razors sharp enough to rival modern surgical tools. These weren't crude attempts at cleanliness, they were masterpieces of design, blending form and function in ways that still feel fresh centuries later. The deeper lesson here isn't about the tools themselves, but about the universal human desire they represent. Whether in the marble baths of Rome or the sweat lodges of the Aztecs, people across civilizations sought the same things we do today: comfort, health, and a sense of dignity in caring for their bodies. The materials may have evolved from hog bristles to nylon, from olive oil to aloe vera, but the core principles remain unchanged. Clean teeth, smooth skin, fresh breath. These weren't modern obsessions. They were timeless priorities, woven into the fabric of daily life from Mesopotamia to Machu Picchu. Perhaps the most humbling realization is how many of these ancient solutions still hold up under modern scrutiny. The Persian self-cleaning Kanats foreshadowed today's water filtration systems, while Egyptian fumigation with myrrh and frankincense mirrors our use of antiseptic essential oils. Even the Tang dynasty's toothbrush design, with its angled bristles and ergonomic handle, set a template that hasn't needed major improvements in over 1,000 years. It's a reminder that innovation isn't always about inventing something new. Sometimes it's about rediscovering the wisdom of those who came before us. So the next time you swipe on deodorant or exfoliate with a loofah, take a moment to appreciate the long lineage behind these everyday rituals. You're not just following a routine, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back further than recorded history. These ancient tools remind us that hygiene isn't just about removing dirt. It's about honoring the body, celebrating craftsmanship, and connecting with the countless generations who, just like us, reached for the best tools they could imagine to feel their best. If this journey through time has sparked your curiosity, let us know in the comments which ancient tools surprised you the most. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the fascinating intersections of history and everyday life. After all, the past isn't just a series of dates and events, it's a mirror reflecting our shared humanity, one carefully crafted toothpick, razor, or sponge stick at a time.